Hi everybody. That was an amazing session with Tripti and Sujata. It was so much to learn from Sujata. It's quite amazing. Very well, thank you, Chanda. So nice to see familiar names and wow, it's really nice. Hi, Sujata. So, a very warm welcome to all of you, and continuing the tradition that Tripti just started, we will shortly do a talk with Arzan Khambatta. But before that, I'd like to say how grateful I am to be on Teletina, and not only as an expert on art, but also the fact that I've made lifelong friends on Teletina. And it's been an amazing journey because I'm not worried about finding the right doctor anymore. If I have a question in literally any city, it's just that I just need to ask somebody on Teletina, and that I have an answer, and that too a reliable one. So it's fabulous, Chanda, really fabulous. Tripti and I are part of the a la carte group on Teletina app, which is called Artifacts. And what we do there is we showcase a lot of artists there, their works, and I also write and speak with artists, curators, gallerists, write their opinions about how people should start collecting art, and inspiring stories about art collectors. So you can definitely go there, become a member, and see what's happening there. Hi everybody. Nice to see all of you. So I myself am from Jaipur, and that's where I met Chanda. I am from a family of 8th generation jewelers, and then my father started some revival work of jeweled art, which is a very rare and dying art, a royal art. And I did my BFA from Parsons School of Design, and I'm an artist myself, and recently had a sculpture exhibition. So that is why my talk with Arzan becomes very interesting for me as well as an artist. So one of the questions that I have, and a lot of people are very interested in art, and sometimes I wonder, why is art essential? So I wanted to ask all of you, what do you think, what part of art is essential and why? And I can share what I've gone through and what my memories with art have been. So they start from childhood. Not only paintings by artists, but just me doodling, and me going to, on the weekends, if as a family we went to Long Beach, because I was born in New York, so we used to go to Long Island on the beach, and I used to make sandcastles, and that's a form of sculpture. And as a child, you don't even realize that you're an artist first. You're not even a writer or a reader, but you're an artist first. And those memories, the tactile memories of being able to touch sand and make something with it, it's almost like creating another human being. So those were, some of my most happy memories with art. And I didn't even see, sandcastle making as art or doodling as art, but that's the beginning. And another thing is, something about sculptures, is that every home may not have a painting, but will always have a sculpture. Now I want you guys to guess which sculpture is that. It's a religious sculpture, a religious idol. Yes, it's Ganesh. That's right. It's Ganeshji. So every home has a sculpture, and we don't see it as a sculpture because we see it as God. So yes, exactly, and those are all sculptures. It's all art. It's so intricately woven. Art and religion, everyday life is so intricately woven. Just a little brief I wanted to give you about people interested about what sculpture has been the role of sculpture in Indian history. We date back to the Indus Valley civilization. I think we were the pioneering set of people who came up with the lost bronze wax, the lost wax process to create bronze figurines. That happened in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. And then you see the beautiful sandstone or rather stone sculptures, shiny stone sculptures. In fact, the shine is called, that polish is called the Mauryan polish. Sculptures back then, thousands of years ago. And a fabulous example of that is the Ashok Chakra. Then there is, now I'd like to ask you guys a question. In South India, everybody knows that the Chola sculptures of bronzes were very, very famous. Can you name one famous sculpture? A bronze sculpture. Well, it's the Natraj. So that's another interesting. So it's just Indian culture is so rich, it has so much. And not only in terms of traditional artifacts, but also people like Anish Kapoor or Subodh Gupta, or for that matter, since we're going to be talking to an artist who is somebody who works a lot with scrap metal, people like Gopal Nam Joshi, or people like Valay Shende, all of these people are doing amazing work. So the entire, spectrum of art, the tribal art from Dokra, Bastar, all of these places, it's unbelievable the diversity India has and the global impact of it. It's been amazing. So without further ado, I'd like to call in Arzan. Let's see where he is. So while he's joining us, I'd like to tell hello, Arzan.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you too.
Very well, thank you. So I'd like to introduce you to an artist whose name is synonymous with Bombay. Right or not, Arzan?
Hopefully, I can say that.
I say that because I live right next to your pod of dolphins.
Okay.
That's why.
Hi.
Hi. And, Arzan, as you all know, is not only popular with art lovers, but kids also. And his infectious sense of humor will brighten anybody's day, and especially today, should definitely brighten our day. Arzan, tell us a little bit about, I know you had a lovely doodling class yesterday, it was fabulous.
Thank you.
Everybody on Teletina, if you ever go to Arzan's studio on Instagram, you're going to find some very interesting classes that he conducts live. So tell us a little bit about how you started tinkering with scrap metal.
So basically, it was like it was an absolute hobby to me. Okay, this is after 10th standard, your parents send you to some class or the other, wanting to get you out of the way. They don't want you hanging around the house all summer. So similarly, they sent me and my two sisters to an art class which was being held by an artist called Anand Mohan Naik. He's an artist from Goa, and he used to do some fabulous stuff on pots and stuff like that. And what I loved about him was he was not a regular art teacher. He loved us to experiment. He would show us the technique and sort of then leave us totally to our own designs, which is what I do with kids now. But the best part about this was that he conducted the classes in a studio in Dadar, which used to be owned by a sculptor called Adi Daverwala. Now, Adi Daverwala was a very big name at that time, very, very big name. If you go to TIFR, Larsen and Toubro, you see large works of his all around. He had, in fact, done a huge residency in the USA and all that. Now, it's a defining moment for me. So the moment I went into that studio, mind you, Mr. Daverwala had passed away. He was not around. I had never met him. But the studio was opened by his wife for Anand Mohan to conduct the classes. The moment I went inside, I saw unfinished metal pieces. There was this smell of welding lingering on. There were sketches in chalk on the walls, in blackboards. There were wooden shavings. It was literally, I'm telling you, a feeling that someone had left it incomplete. and it needed to be picked up and sort of restarted. And I saw pieces of metal lying there, which fascinated me no end. I love
It was
machinery.
love at first
Oh,
sight.
it
I
was
can see it
absolute
was
love at
love at
first sight.
first
It was like a defining moment, and it was literally that instant. I said, I want to pick up metal and I want to start welding, which is where it started from.
Wow.
You know.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. And what I found interesting when I was looking up scrap metal artists was that a lot of, and what was totally amazing was a lot of women were scrap metal artists
Yes,
back then in the 50s.
correct.
And that's just a very courageous, a very brave thing to be able to do.
True,
Uh,
true.
Um, tell us,
Hmm.
your process, your art practice. The welding. For a lot of people, it can be a little dangerous. Uh, and at the same time, very mysterious and very very engaging, very attractive, mesmerizing as a
It's
form.
basic. I'll tell you from where I started. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
no one, I was 16 years old. Okay. No one would allow me to weld because it's dangerous. So the misconception is that it's dangerous. It is a misconception. Like
Oh,
many
I see.
things, it is. I mean, you use enough protective gear, you cover
Uh-huh.
your eyes properly with the regular mask that is available,
Right.
and you have your senses around you and don't do anything carelessly. That's what everything goes absolutely smoothly. So I started
Nonsense.
with one machine, just one machine, which was the welding machine.
Okay.
And since no one was willing to teach me, I remember my parents were abroad, and I said I collected metal from scrapyards, from garages, and all that. I had a gunny bag of metal. I said I have to start welding this together. If it was plastic, I could have used super glue or Fevicol or something or the other to stick it. But metal requires welding. So what I did
Sure.
was at 8:39 p.m. I would walk from Dadar via Tilak Bridge going to Mahim, where there were a lot of these grill makers, grills and gates and rolling shutters and all that. And I would go there and I tell him, teach me welding. This was at 9 o'clock. And he would say, no, come at 9:30 because my boss is still here. So I said, okay, fine. So I would loiter around somewhere on the streets, go in at 9:30 with my scrap. I sat there and 2 nights I learned my welding. Very simple. That's it.
Two
So
nights you learned welding.
it's very
Amazing.
easy. I mean, I can teach you in 1 hour, literally. It's that simple. But that is the basic technique of sticking two pieces of metal together. That's it, as simple as that. And then, of
Sticking.
course, as time went on, I got a gas cutting machine, and then a grinder, and then a drill, and then a sanding machine, and stuff like that. And so you expand slowly. But
My goodness.
it's wonderful. What is wonderful is that as an artist, you have to challenge the machine. So a welding machine is only used to stick two pieces of metal together. So it's definitely melting the metal. So I would use it to cut the metal as well. No engineer does that, correct? And you cannot think like that.
Very true.
But being an
Very true.
artist, you have to challenge the machine as to saying what else can you make it do. And since I didn't have any other cutting machine, I would use the welding machine to cut the metal, and hence I would get these weird jagged edges, which became a part of my design process. Complete self-experimentation right till this day. Started as experimentation. I experiment every day still, and I'll keep on experimenting.
Wow, amazing. And I can relate that to what Sujata said.
Yes,
You make your lines and your lines go through your welding machine.
correct, true,
Pretty
true,
amazing.
totally, yes.
Um, when teach kids, what prompts you to teach kids? What is it that attracts you to that?
So, number one, I just love the enthusiasm. Okay. I started teaching 25 years back, maybe, in my little garden outside where I used to, maybe 30 more. Maybe, so, I'm not giving away my age to you. So, so I
We know
used
that publicly.
to. So I would sit in the
That's
garden,
all right.
and all the Parsi colony kids would come in a 3-day class that I would hold and all that. And what I realized was that I enjoyed it a lot. They gave me so much energy. They gave me so much. They showed so much enthusiasm in the way they sort of jumped into what I was teaching them. It kept on firing me to do more and more and more and more. And now, I mean, I'm not counting. I must have done 500 workshops so far, right from street kids of Akanksha to Asima to Teach for India to the biggest
So how
schools in
lovely.
Bombay, everyone. And I'll tell you one thing. So this is so wonderful. The children are enthusiastic. Okay. But after having done so many workshops, you'll be surprised and you'll be very happy to know that the enthusiasm level and the level of intelligence of the kids from the street and the NGOs is far, far, far more than the ones I get from the good schools. And it is something I've marked, and I'm not ashamed to say that. It is phenomenal. The kind of yearning they have to learn, the kind of things they see when they come to my studio, the observation, it amazes me. It's like my studio is like Alibaba's cave. It's got things hanging everywhere now. There are things I've tied from the ceiling now, incomplete pieces which have come back from shows and all that. There's welding going on, there's wood carving going on. And the moment they come there, the kind of things they catch immediately from the surroundings and the kind of questions they ask me is phenomenal, which I find missing in the kids which come from big schools. I really have to study why, but that is missing in that, but it's wonderful. Children are superb. They come to my studio, I show them something. So the pattern is the same. First 10, 15 minutes, they're so confused. They don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They don't know what the hell I'm doing because every time I teach them new stuff, 20 minutes more, once they start working with the materials, you should see their enthusiasm. Then they're deaf, then they don't hear you, and then they're absolutely into their element,
Are there one or two kids who stand out in their questions that you remember?
Oh yes. I'll tell you. So another thing, I have a lot of anecdotes. I remember a lot of stuff right since when I was young. So there was this group which came from Teach for India, okay, and they had come from the Worli shanties somewhere, okay. Mm-hmm. They had come from the Worli shanties, and there's this common joke which happens between me and my friends and my family and everyone. I'm not being modest. I work a lot. I work a lot in the mornings. I finish by 5. Okay, that has been my pattern for years. I finish by 5, and then I'm either doing my cycling or my running or my yoga or anything else that I feel like doing. Okay, so I appear to be free a lot of time. People see me around the house. People see me walking and all that. So there's this misconception that Arzan doesn't work. It's a big joke. And the way I sort of talk about my work being so easy and all that, everyone says Arzan doesn't work. He just sort of plays around and stuff like that. Fine. And then it becomes difficult sometimes. I sometimes tell my children, hey, you have got any idea how much I have to work to do this? It's a common thing in all families. So there's this thing which I had in my mind. Now, coming to this group which came to the studio. So I was showing them around. Like I said, the observation power that they have is phenomenal, And she was seeing it. I remember her face, okay, that little girl. She must have been 7 years or so. And when I was walking around, she's looking around and all that. And you can make out bright faces in children. When they're absorbing, you can make out.
Absolutely. Sparkling eyes.
Yes, absolutely. And she stopped and I asked, do you have any questions? This little girl came up to me, looked up to me, said, Bhaiya, aap kitna kaam karte ho? I was elated. I was absolutely elated. That was one of the best compliments I got from anyone in a long, long time. So kids do stand out. I mean, I have been getting kids who are right now studying 4th year architecture who have been doing workshops with me since they were 10, 12 years old. So it's phenomenal, and they are in touch with me. They show me what they're doing. They're in universities abroad. They send me their designs. They send me their concepts and the models and all that. And it's wonderful that you can influence, literally influence a little. I have noticed that there are very few good teachers. Someone who is very good in his craft need not be a good teacher. I've experienced that myself from other teachers. There are sometimes one little hint that someone gives you, and that little hint you can somehow just take it and make it your, your concept to learn a subject, and that's good. And I love it.
That's amazing. So now there's something else that I read about you, where you profess that the impossible just takes longer. That's the motto you go by.
Yeah. The impossible just takes a little longer. I love it. And it's like...
Especially in these trying times in COVID, especially. It's very apt. So what would you like to say about that?
I basically... You'll be surprised, who said this line. Someone will think it was some big philosopher and all that. Of course,
I completely thought that.
It's a fantastic line. And... it's in a song. It's in a song called Africa by Dr. Alban. So Dr. Alban, it's my life and all that. So it was one line which I picked up. And I'm saying, what is he keeping on repeating behind in that one beat? And he just kept on saying, the impossible just takes a little longer. He's talking about apartheid and all that. And I just love that line. And I took it on, and I've made sculptures based on that. I've actually made sculptures based on that. I'll just give you an idea. There's a huge 5-foot copper orb that I've created, which just stays on the floor. It just looks like an orb, but if you see carefully, there's a little man, a 4-inch man at the bottom who's pushing this orb. So it's like you take on things which are difficult, correct? Then there's one more, where there was an elephant who's got a rope around him, and about 10 feet away, there's a little man who's pulling the elephant. So that also was called the impossible just takes a little longer. Not possible for the man to pull the elephant, but if he doesn't try, he won't know. So it's like that. And I hate people who give up even before trying something. There are so many people who just absolutely give up. And these times especially, I mean, I'm not always like this. I also go through my moods up and down. Sometimes I'm cranky, not doing stuff and not being able to go to the studio. But then I pick up a pen and pencil and I do some lot of stuff and all that. But I think the key here is to be neutral, to be balanced. Don't panic and don't completely let go also. Be a little scared of what is going around, but don't get sort of hyper about it. And I have this one theory which works wonders. If you keep yourself occupied with multiple things, there is no way that you're going to think about the negative that's happening around. Your mind has just this much capacity to hold stuff and think of things like that. So when someone says meditate, sit in a corner and keep quiet and empty your thoughts, it's not possible. You're not in that line to sort of sit in one corner and say empty your thoughts. 10,000 other thoughts will come to you. The idea is to involve yourself in something where you get so involved, like my doodling and my pen and ink, that you forget what is happening around. So that is I think the best thing to do today is to get involved in a number of things. I mean, I'm literally telling you, not jokingly, there's so many jokes going around about men washing dishes. I do it now. But I put my music on, like I got my headphones right now. I was blasting my music and I was doing my vessels today. So get involved in anything which applies your mind and your heart and soul, and then you can sort of let's say temporarily be away from this madness that is going around. I've stopped reading the news long time back. I've stopped reading messages which give me statistics and all that. I know that I'm taking care of myself and everything's okay. To an extent, cut yourself off from all that is happening around and you'll be a little mentally more stable,
Of course, yes. So I'd like for the viewers to ask any questions, and in the meantime, I'm going to ask some fun stuff. So it's a quick rapid fire for you.
Sure.
So I know we know you. You already have your wits around you, so it'll be easy. It'll be a breeze for you. So what's the most crazy out of the box object you've tinkered with when you made your sculptures?
Okay, so when I made my sculptures initially, my earlier time, I'm talking about 82, 83, each and every sculpture I would get home from my little studio that I had down, and I would get it on a wooden base. So and my parents loved it. They were wondering, everything is wonderful. One day they came to my studio to collect an old bed which they had got. They didn't realize that I had cut up the old bed and the pedestals were all made from the old bed. So about 20 sculptures had that old bed cut up and they were all there. I said, where's the bed? I said, it's already in your house in 30 different pieces.
Amazing. That is quite out of the box, I have to say. Now, something out of the box in terms of a question. If you had the power to shrink something, what would it be?
To shrink something? Everyone's worries.
Yes. Lovely. Fabulous. Fabulous. Very, very, timely right now, for sure. Then if you could make one rule for the day that everybody had to follow, what would that be?
Be happy and make someone else happy. Compulsorily.
Compulsory.
Makes a lot of difference. Be happy is optional, but make someone happy is very, very
important. Be happy is
yeah.
optional, but make somebody happy. Wow, fabulous. All right, and next one.
Yeah.
If you were stranded on an island and could keep one famous work of art with you, which one would it be and why?
I think it would be the Thinker from Rodin, because it would inspire me also to sit like him and wonder how the hell am I going to get away from this island back into mainland. So I will see him thinking and I'll sit thinking and both of us will think together.
It'll be Ram Milai Jodi. Okay. And the funniest title you've given your sculpture?
Okay, I'll tell you. So I play around with words a lot. Okay. And if you've seen Michelangelo's painting on the Sistine Chapel, which is the creation of Adam, where Adam is holding out his finger and God points his finger like this, the two of them. And so what I did was I made a sculpture where the Adam is Jennifer Lopez. She's holding out a finger, and God is Michael Jackson. He's holding out his other finger. And it's called Michelangelo. So that's what it is. Michelangelo. So it was made by Michelangelo, so I said, okay, fine. So it's Michelangelo. So I love that. That's my most favorite title till now.
Oh, that's fabulous. So one of the questions that we've gotten is what material can one use to make sculptures at home right now? Is there something that one can use?
Simplest paper. A4 size paper. Literally cut up, tear paper, twist it around, stick it. I've done a lot of workshops with that. I've done a lot of 1 hour workshops with that. And you'll be amazed at the kind of forms you get. I'll tell you. Take an A4 size paper. Okay? Draw lines on it, random. Okay? Cut on those lines. Cut on those lines. Don't cut off anything. And then twist and turn the paper and start sticking it or stapling it. And what will come out is amazing abstract forms. It will be super experience to learn from. If you're lucky to have a paper which has one color on one side and blank on the other, even better, because when you turn it inside out, you come up with some wonderful stuff. If you want, we can take this forward and do a workshop in it someday soon.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds fabulous. Wow, this was an amazing workshop. And, as promised, Arzan, you've been absolutely, you've brightened our day.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Absolutely welcome.
Teletina, all the members of Teletina, it's been amazing.
Sure.
With Siddhartha and Arzan, it's been a fabulous, art section for us. Artifacts, way to go. And Teletina, yay, great job. All right, take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.